Mi gente, you already know who it is. It's the radioactive pop with Danny Limelight, United Wrestling Network World Heavyweight Champion. And make sure you tune into the Alliance blog every week. You heard it here first. Straight from Bobby.
Okay, guys, we're back. Did you miss us? Because we missed you.
Rules?
There are no rules.
What rules?
This is a revolution, damn it!
You'll hear things you've never heard before.
What in the wide world of sports is going on here?
Who are those guys?
And then there's the other guys.
We're the other guys. We're the guys nobody ever bets on.
The following program is intended for mature audiences.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show.
It's time for the Other Alliance Guys podcast with your hosts, Tim, Dave, and Jeremy.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. And what can we tell you? We are the Other Alliance Guys, a presentation of alliance-wrestling.com, your number one source for news and information for the National Wrestling Alliance and various independents around the world. I'm Timmy Thunder 2.0, a name bestowed upon me by the great Danny Deals at one point. And I am joined, as always, by my brothers in pod. This is Dave Scooby. How you doing, Scoop?
Doing good.
Good. And our brother out west, Championship Wrestling from Jeremy. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing well, staying warm.
You know, on the eve of a Philadelphia Eagles victory, I must address the slanderous talk from the great Willie Bowen. Willie, I am stabbed in the heart, my friend.
Willie B coming out hot today.
That is a dagger to my heart, but it is counterbalanced by BKD. Go Birds! No one likes us, Chris. We don't care. The Eagles have pulled off a last-minute victory to get into the NFC Championship game, so I'm very happy with that. Chris is here. Willie's here. Willie's got a good joke to make it all right. Fantasy Island's going to be rebooted. Rolando Freeman will be playing Tattoo, and Tyrus will be playing The Island. I laughed backstage. I'm laughing again. That's pretty funny, Willie. That's a good one. Steve G's here. Good to see you, Steve. Rosville's here. Rosville's doing his own podcast late at night. I have not checked it out yet, but I come into the Alliance Discord. I think he's got some links there, or feel free to throw it in here, Rosville.
Yeah.
If you get a chance. And the noob, Millennial Noob. Good to see you, my friend. What are we talking about today, guys? We're talking about, that's right, a few things. We're going to have the Alliance Hall of Fame. It's round 2 of the first set of inductions. The results are back for the first 2, which was Adam Pearce and Josephus. And I think for now, we're just going to keep that to the side until we get a little further on down the road and then put all of our inductees at once. Tonight, we're going to be talking about Nick Aldis and Tim Storm. On the surface, 2 names that probably should automatically maybe just be considered, first ballot Hall of Famers for the Alliance Wrestling Hall of Fame. But if you dig a little deeper, we'll maybe tell you why that is and why that isn't. So that should be fun as these 2 gentlemen argue it out, whether they want to or not. And,
yeah, I feel like I'm being ribbed this week.
Wait till next week. Next week we're bringing in your pick for the one that we're gonna let Scooby argue against that one. But
okay.
Jeremy's going to be talking about the brand new TNA WWE deal and what that's going to mean for both companies. So that'll be interesting because I have had a very busy week and I haven't read too much about it. So I'm looking forward to that. And then Dave's doing some historical fantasy booking to anchor the show. What if William Patrick Cogan had bought TNA back in 2016? Oh, the landscape changes. How that would look so differently. So that'll be awesome to see, Dave. Willie says, anyone see the Exodus pay-per-view event last night? I did not.
No.
Not watching the territories. Not watching WWE, though I intend to, maybe with a watch along with Jason. Big night of wrestling. GCW in New York City and TNA being invaded by NXT.
Yeah.
Really reminds us it stands for Nauseated Extreme Trash. I don't know. Willie, I think you're hard on the WWE, man. Like, what do you think, Jeremy? Like, I kind of feel on all brands they're firing on all cylinders these days.
So for me, NXT right now is, if you want to go see premier female talent wrestling, go to NXT. If you want to see up-and-comers that have been developed by the WWE system and are absolutely showing out, you go to NXT. NXT, for me at the moment, is hitting better than SmackDown, is hitting better than Raw.
Wow.
That's not to say that Raw hasn't been good. It has. But Sean's able to do shit down in NXT without Paul saying anything. No one comes up from NXT, regardless of who they are, unless Sean says, yeah, they're ready to go. Paul's not taking anybody that Sean does not say they're good. They're good to go. Bring them up. Completely different change from the way that Vince ran things.
Oh, that's interesting.
Vince did not allow anyone time to breathe and grow if he saw anything potentially in them. Aaliyah, a female wrestler, was a prime example. She should have never been brought up to the main roster. After 5 years in NXT, she was still greener than grass. She had not progressed any at all, but she had a look that Vince at that moment in time did something to him.
Right.
You know, so
Tom McGee effect. Yeah.
Yeah. And now where she's completely out of wrestling now.
Interesting. That's too bad.
You know,
Willie ain't buying it. Steve says it's all about the bloodline. Yeah, the bloodline sells tickets.
Yeah.
I guess that's
and that's why I'm liking NXT a lot better right now, because it's not just centrally focused on one major driving storyline.
Yeah.
Even the world champions has taken a back seat to the bloodline.
Yeah. Because it's good business. Yeah. I don't feel, and we can talk about it in a second, I don't feel Cody Rhodes until maybe 2024 ever gave us a 5-star match. He always had a serviceable 3.5, 4-star match for me.
Yeah.
And he was 100% the right guy to be where he is right now, and would never take anything away. But yeah, I mean, I really think he's been elevated because of the bloodline. But
yeah, at the end of the day, my opinion of Cody is he's a damn good hand.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not to take anything away from him, but Stardust.
Yeah, yeah. You can get through that.
You know, he got through that. You know, he made that work, but making shit work and being a good hand does not mean star necessarily.
Yeah.
He's just a pig that's filling a hole at the moment. I come at me.
I think a lot of the stuff with Cody, he's a very good wrestler. They did the storyline of him going after the title, a title his father, quote unquote, never held.
Yeah.
But it's also, I think, shoving it in AEW's face, considering he was one of the founders. And quite a few of the times that WWE brings back a wrestler, example, Drew McIntyre. He went from 3MB to where he is now.
Right.
Granted, he isn't the champion, but he's a hell of a lot better than being in a 3-man band.
Yeah. Yeah, sometimes you got to go through hell to get to heaven, they say, right?
Yep.
Put that last Willie quote you had back up on there real quick. I want to address that. WWE did not burn out Ronda Rousey. Ronda Rousey did not belong in the WWE. Flat out. She was not good.
Yeah. The first run was better than the second, for sure.
Yeah.
But I would agree. Hey, Lou's here, one of my favorite Alliance fam members of all time. Love you, Lou. We miss you, Lou. Hope to see you in 2025 at one event or another down your way. I'm not watching NWA, but it doesn't mean I won't go to the event and hang out with you guys. It's funny, as I look at the posters, I still get the emails, and I'm like, this is exactly the same crew from when I left, a year ago. And I don't know, nothing looks like I hear the event cards from Jay or whoever else, and I just think, I don't know. I'm not eager to jump back in at any point. But speaking of WWE talent, let's talk about the Alliance Hall of Fame and our third nominee. The first two being Adam Pearce and Josephus, who were under consideration this week on social media. This week, the third one of the ones with the most votes for as a nominee, not to get into the Hall of Fame. It's Nick Aldis himself of WWE. Currently WWE fame. And I'm not going to put Nick Aldis's credentials. Everyone here is pretty educated, but also I think it's time for Jeremy to argue for Nick Aldis, the man who once called our founder a ham sandwich jabroni. What do you got for us, Jeremy?
As a member of Strictly Resistance, I don't know if anyone remembers that movement whenever Strictly Business was going on. I do feel I am being ribbed here. I will be arguing on the merits of why Nicholas Henry Aldis should be inducted into the Alliance Hall of Fame. Hell has truly frozen over, fellas. Okay, so first on the list, outside of Catholic Saint Henry Walpole, Nick Aldis is the most famous person worldwide to come out of Docking, Norfolk, England. He was a one-time TNA World Champion, a three-time TNA World Tag Team Champion, a one-time IWGP World Tag Team Champion. And they don't just give those away all willy-nilly. Right there. A one-time Global Force Wrestling Global Champion, two-time NWA World Champion, with his first run lasting 266 days, losing it to Cody Rhodes, and then winning it back from him. And his second run went an impressive 1,043 days for a combined total of 1,309 days, firmly placing him at number 6 on the all-time combined reigns between Dan the Beast Severn and Gene Kiniski, and arguably his greatest championship accolade, the Ring King World Heavyweight Championship. He overcame the name of Magnus, much like number 8 on the combined reigns list of much like number 8 on the combined reigns list and number 1 on last week's Hall of Fame selections, Adam Pearce, he turned his success in the NWA into a prime slot of GM in the WWE on the SmackDown brand. And my number one reason why he should be in the Hall of Fame, he never blocked me on Twitter.
I'm not sure if he ever did either, but those are all fair. I love that we're considering a guy who made this possible, the ham sandwich jabroni button made by our friend John Ceramic Fuzzy.
Yep.
And the Reluchador asked, did you lose a bet to have to read this? Blink twice if you were forced at all to say nice things about Nick Aldis. That's my bride.
Those two hard blanks for Luca.
Oh, man. Hey, before we go to to Dave arguing against, I don't want to lose this in the chat because this is This is just fantastic. Cody was the burger you make at home, and now he's the burger you see in the commercial with the WWE spit and polish job.
Exactly.
100%. That is so well said. Lou's blocked by him, though. No idea why. Guilty by association. Well, to tell us why we should not allow Nick Aldis into the Alliance Wrestling Hall of Fame, certainly a Hall of Fame he would have no interest himself in being part of. It's Dave Scooby. What do you got, Dave?
Nick Aldis. First off, I am not blocked by him. I unfriended him. If you want to consider him, I didn't unfriend him. I unfollowed him. He was never a friend. He called Jay a ham sandwich jabroni. So when you call friends names, I can't go for that. His first run as NWA champion was about 265 days. He did the Aldis campaign where he went on a run of 60 days and defended it over 20 times. But it wasn't against as high quality opponents, in my opinion, to try to bring a name to the NWA. If you hear his name and then what happened in NWA, he was roughly the third or fourth choice down the line of people that Billy wanted to be champion. So he was a name, but not really a name. He was fourth down on the list. He's a former, like you said, Jeremy, a former Global Force champion, a Rinka King, even former TNA Impact champion. But when you look back on it, he was a big fish in a small pond. His name, when he was Brutus Magnus, okay, they tried to do the Gladiator. Speaking of that, he was in the European version of Gladiators as Oblivion, and I would just say Oblivious, because if you look back, all I'm going to say is type in Nick Aldis Gladiator on your Google machine and then click on images. You'll get a good laugh. His second run as NWA champion, he coasted. That was after Power started. He'd already been champion. He really didn't do, in my opinion, that much to raise the stature of the championship as well as the NWA. I mean, he started way back. I mean, he's not even 40 yet. And quote unquote, he's washed up as a wrestler in the eyes of WWE. They brought him in as a producer. He's now on-screen GM. I'm sure he could still go as a wrestler, but to not even be 40 and to not be allowed to wrestle, what is the WWE seeing in him? Granted, he's good as a on-screen talent, but he's not good enough to get in the ring. So, I mean, altogether, I mean, he's been going since he was 16 when he started training. So he has a 20-plus year career, and he's sort of burned himself out on the NWA. And while I can agree with some of the things he had to say that Billy was going one direction when he should have zigged instead of zagged, he was lucky to be, like I said, a big fish in a small pond. That when you look back on his run as champion, yes, he was a good champion. But in my opinion, he didn't help the NWA as much as the NWA helped him.
Right. Well, all great arguments, I think. Unless I cut you off before the finale.
Oh, no, that's
good. Hey, James H. Jackson is here. Good to see you. Yeah, it's a who's who in the Alliance family who was not blocked by Nick Aldis. I really like that argument. Like, I think the arguments stand for themselves, right? Like, it's, the titles he's had in the NWA, the MWA relationship and focus from Alliance Wrestling. It kind of just seems like it maybe is something that bears consideration. But I really like the argument that, I mean, if you're 40 and what did you do outside studio, and I love studio wrestling, but what did you do outside a studio wrestling show? And I guess TNA is the world champion there. Mm-hmm. But it's a good argument again. So I have just put the poll up on Twitter or X or whatever you want to call it. Please you can wait for the retweet if you want to, but we'd love for you to follow us at x.com/TOAG livestream, TOAG livestream. And feel free to vote. When Jay retweets it, you can vote there. If we end up doing it as we go along on the Alliance website, you can do it. Everywhere we post it, you're free to vote. Yeah, Raluca says his ego wouldn't fit in the Hall of Fame. Willie was an LA Rams fan. That explains why he was so angry. I don't know, man. I'm an Eagles guy, so everyone who voted against them can suck it. Moving right along. The fourth and final one for today of the first batch two that the inner circle, Jay's inner circle, which is not just the three of us. There's other people involved, and maybe for the next round, we'll even ask some of you guys to join us in our little personal Discord chat for that. But the fourth nominee, also an NWA World's Heavyweight Champion at the beginning of the Lightning One era, Tim Storm, or Baron Von Storm, if you want to call him that these days. And arguing for the inclusion of Tim Storm into the Alliance Wrestling Hall of Fame, it's Dave Scooby. We're back to you, Dave.
All right. Well, Mr. Storm or Teacher Storm or Baron Von Storm, whatever name you call him by, he started in the mid-90s, trained for pro wrestling with Bill Ash. He's from Arkansas. He debuted in the mid-90s, not truly wrestling, but he was trained for pro wrestling and was a jobber for the first couple of years. He did, it was either in 99 or early 2000, wrestle for WLW, which is Harley Race.
Yep.
And I myself saw him back in the day in his duster with his handlebar mustache, wrestling in Springfield for World Legion Wrestling before it was World League Wrestling. And he was a stereotypical Texas wannabe cowboy. I'm not sure if he was actually cowboy Tim Storm, but he had the duster, he had the airbrush duster, and he played the part. But in the mid-90s, when he started training, he started late in his career. He was 35 when he started. So he's roughly, I believe, 60 now. So he's on 25 years in the business. But in late 2000, 2001, early 2001, he debuted for Texas-based professional championship wrestling. Spent a majority of his career forming the Dark Circle with Apocalypse and Shadow. He won the tag titles, ended up capturing the heavyweight championship. He was with them through roughly about 2007, where he ended up wrestling Big Daddy V, Viscera, on an episode of ECW, WWE on Sci-Fi. Excuse me. Ended up having all sorts of matches, hair matches, ended up wearing a mask, had a mask match versus his old partner Shadow. He began working for Arkansas-based National Wrestling Alliance affiliate Traditional Championship Wrestling in 2010. So he goes all the way back to 2010 with NWA Wrestling affiliates. He's wrestled off and on as either a heavyweight champion or in tag teams. He's been in German Fest tournaments for the Indie World Championship. He's wrestled, let me see here, where are we? Sorry about that, lost my place. He's wrestled such people as, let's see, Scott Summers in Houston, worked in events involving Texas Stampede Wrestling. Now there's Texas State Wrestling, which he may end up going into. He did win the Mid-South Heavyweight title by forfeit back in 2015, but that was short-lived as Rom Conway ended up defeating Storm for the title roughly a month later. Back in 2019, excuse me, Storm defeated Rodney Mack to become the SWE heavyweight champion. He held that title for 500 days before losing it to Charlie Haas. Following this, Storm would quit the SWE over a money dispute, and then they just sort of disappeared off the face of the earth. I really haven't seen much of them.
They're gone, yeah.
2014 to the present, he's been a mainstay, or at least a name, with the National Wrestling Alliance. He's been a North American heavyweight champion in 2014 and 15. At a main event wrestling show in Texas, he won. Defended the title for 6 months before dropping it to his former tag partner, rest in peace, Jax Dane, in a title versus title match back in 2015 in Vegas. He regained the North title when he defeated Andy Andrews in Georgia. Storm's second North American title reign ended when Tyler Dean defeated him. And then later on, in 2016, he competed in Texoma Wrestling. He defeated Jax Dane in 2016 for the World Heavyweight Championship. He went against Nick Aldis in 2017, Championship Wrestling from Hollywood, and ended up defeating Aldis. He feuded with Josephus through 2018. Josephus had cost Storm the championship. He ended up having a feud with Strictly Business. Later on in 2019, on the debut episode of Power, Nick Aldis granted Storm a rematch, which he lost. 2022 and 23, primarily operated as an announcer, and I enjoyed him being an announcer for the NWA. The only thing I really didn't enjoy is his interactions with a certain Velvet Sky. He seemed out of it. Then in the summer of 2024, he debuted a new gimmick. This is the only blemish I look upon Storm as. Baron von Raschke, Baron von Storm, whatever he's trying to do. I understand the claw, but I would have just done it as a tribute to the Von Erichs. That if anything, I would have just, I don't know, gone on Cameo and paid, I don't know, paid Kevin Von Erich to do a cameo for him, saying that he was giving him the permission to use the claw, and just
nice.
Just go with that. You don't have to be a Baron.
Yeah.
Just be Tim Storm. That's who you've been all these years, close to 25 years in the business. I mean, I look upon him as Tim Storm is Tim Storm. He's not a junior high school teacher. He's a wrestler. He's a champion that got started late in life. If he would have started 5 years earlier, who knows where he would have been. But I mean, it's one of these things. He's former North American heavyweight champion in the NWA, a one-time NWA holder of the 10 pounds of gold. He was the person that carried the NWA on his back. And it's one of these things of, if it wasn't for Tim Storm, who knows where the NWA would be today.
It's a great argument. Now for the Republican response. Democratic response? I don't know. Yeah, you're in the West. The independent response.
There we go. I'll take that one.
Arguing against Tim Storm going into the Alliance Wrestling Hall of Fame. Take it away.
Well, as Dave mentioned, he wrestled in a tag team named the Dark Circle, which sounds like a double entendre to me. I'm just saying. The oldest person to ever win the NWA World Title at the age of 51. Jesus fucking Christ, that's old. But I'm not thinking of getting into a damn wrestling ring at my age, and I'm not 51 yet. So Yeah. But he got beat on his one and only appearance in the WWE whenever he went up against Big Daddy V in the ECW sci-fi version of ECW in 2007. In 2008, he lost a hair versus hair match to Franco D'Angelo. No idea who that guy is. You lost your hair to a nobody. Is one of the oldest active wrestlers today in wrestling, under one of the oldest and most wore out fucking gimmicks in wrestling as a Baron Von. That's all I got. I can't really diss the guy. I admire the fuck out of Tim Storm and the fortitude that he had to not only at the age of 35 decide, I want to give pro wrestling a shot. And then didn't even really go at it for another 5-10 years almost,
Yep.
And then at 51 won the NWA World Title. Still the most, to me and to a lot of us here, the most prestigious wrestling title ever. And again, I'm 47 and in decent shape and could go if need be. I'm not hopping in no fucking wrestling ring at that age.
No.
I win or lose, he's a Hall of Famer to me. And I had to argue against it.
I'll say this as the guy who kind of plays it neutral and just, out of Nick Aldis and Tim Storm, I voted. By the way, Tim Storm's poll is also up now on x.com/TOAG live stream. I'm sure Jay will repost that in the Alliance. Please go and vote. Please follow us because we're kind of starting from scratch on our own little Twitter thing, just to have our own stuff from the Alliance on it. But I voted for one for and the other against. I'll leave that one on there. And I think I was turned by one of your arguments, so I appreciate you guys doing this for me. Here's another great comment by Lou. Where is Lou? Where did it go? Now it's gone. Where'd you go, Lou? Storm belongs in the Hall of Pretty Good. It's a crowded place already. To me, I'm not sure that being the NWA Worlds Heavyweight Champion automatically means that you would get into a Hall of Fame. It should certainly help, but I kind of agree in the sense that if Storm isn't the greatest wrestler of all time, then maybe he doesn't get in there just for being world champion, if that's one of the reasons that, that he's in there. But if I would, like you, Jeremy, I'd have no, and I'm sure like Dave, I would have no complaints if he did either. So
right.
That's
Tim's just a nice guy.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. Oh, you mean Storm.
Both Tims. You and
well, he wait whenever if it wasn't for Tim Storm, we wouldn't have the 10 pounds of gold.
Yeah.
Series. He carried that banner whenever he made whenever he cut that promo on Championship Wrestling from Hollywood, where this is my mountaintop. I defy you to go back and watch that and not get goosebumps.
Yeah.
You felt every word that man said there.
Like we said a couple of weeks ago, at 75, when he got hurt against the now late great Jack Stain, I felt it.
Yeah.
And, I wouldn't want this to happen to anybody, but he's such a presence and such a guy you just want to back at all times, I wanted to back him I wanted him to lose against Aldis, which inevitably happened, but I wanted to back him. He was such a believable face. And there was a period of time, I think, in the NWA back in the first year or so, even when he retired, where Tim Storm, even in the broadcast, he didn't retire, but semi-retired into the broadcast booth. Yeah. During that period, there was a big chunk of time when, for me, Tim Storm was the biggest babyface in professional wrestling. He could do no wrong as far as I was concerned. I think that's worse than that. There should be a pro wrestling fantasy camp for old farts and fats like me. Yeah, we'll all go. We'll probably won't draw any money, but I'll bring a belt. We can.
I would definitely go. I'd love to do that.
Yep.
So please go and vote, guys. Thank you very much to both of you guys. Let's go now to a segment. He said, slowing everything down as he's caught off guard. We like to call Championship Wrestling from Jeremy.
Attention, everyone. One.
School is in session. Oh boy, is this great!
Let me talk to you.
Let's get down to the nitty-gritty.
It's time for Championship Wrestling from Jeremy.
New intro.
Louder. I
Yeah,
love that.
it's louder. New intro.
I love Stephen First so much.
We did get away thanks to Dave from the UWN centric version of Championship Wrestling from Jeremy. But you're talking this week about the WWA TNA deal and what that means for both companies.
I am. And I'm going to start off with what we know as of now. First and foremost, TNA is not owned by the WWE. WWE has no stake in TNA outside of the contract that they have both agreed upon. So let's get that out of the way first and foremost. There is no financial involvement with the WWE other than what they have agreed to in the contract. So this came about because Triple H wanted to find something that would benefit the WWE and whatever promotion it was working with. The trade-off being the other company could be on WWE's elevated platform while its talent could get time against other stars and learn different styles of wrestling. This is a multi-year deal that will create unprecedented crossover opportunities for both companies. Shawn Michaels is quoted as saying, "We look forward to growing and evolving our partnership with TNA Wrestling and its outstanding group of athletes by creating new opportunities to further the development of our talent and to elevate the viewer experience at home. NXT talent will be available to appear on TNA programming and vice versa. Additionally, WWE talent will be available to appear on TNA pay-per-views and TNA talent on WWE PLEs. So far, we've seen Jordan Grace show up in the 2024 Women's Royal Rumble and also challenge NXT Women's Championship Roxanne Perez at Battleground last year. We've seen Joe Hendry challenge now former NXT champion Ethan Page at No Mercy. We saw the Rascals show up and show out on NXT, including one hell of a showing by Zach Wentz versus Wes Lee. And if you haven't seen that one, go watch it immediately after this stream is over. Fucking glorious match. Both of those two just as two best friends, and it just the story that they told in that match and the way that it played out was amazing. The current TNA Women's Champ Masha Slamovich was shown in attendance on this past week's episode of NXT. Ariana Grace, Tatum Paxley, Izzy Dame, and Wendy Chu are among the names that have shown up on TNA shows. Now, what could we see going forward? With it being stated that the WWE and TNA talent could show up on either's PLE pay-per-views and TNA Genesis 2025 now being advertised with NXT branding, who could possibly show up tonight? As I said a moment ago, Masha Slamovich was shown on NXT this past week, and that was during the Cora Jade Kalani Jordan match. And they focused in on her whenever Cora Jade was making her entrance. So we could, and Masha is having a match tonight against Rosemary. So could we possibly see Cora Jade show up during the match or after the match? I don't know, but I'm intrigued.
Yeah.
It's got me that much more invested in TNA, which filled in the slot once NWA was doing their carny bullshit. Anyways, moving on. Could we see possibly John Cena pop up in a TNA ring? The seeds are there. As John posted on his Instagram on the 19th of January, both company logos and a current TNA talent teased Cena appearing in the company during his retirement tour. That would be huge for a couple of different reasons. Because WWE is the only promotion that John Cena has wrestled for in the mainstream outside of, I don't even remember who he was wrestling for before he got to, but I believe it was the training school he was going to at the same time.
Probably.
But that would be huge because he's never shown up on any other wrestling promotion's TV. So even if he doesn't wrestle, just showing up on TNA television would be huge. But if he was to actually get into a program with somebody, who could it be? But how awesome would it be? You know, the man of five moves that turned Hollywood on its ear with great dance performances at the beginning of Peacemaker. You know, I mean,
you were right. By the way, he wrestled for UPW, which was owned by the professional wrestling company. I think that he went to in California.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Another name, AJ Styles, who hasn't been seen on TV in the WWE since June of 24 when he lost to Cody Rhodes. His contract was expected to be up as of the end of 24, the beginning of 25. It was kind of unclear when exactly it's going up. And as of airing today, I could find nothing about him re-signing, but WWE has also been going to the very end of contracts before they start negotiating or anything anymore. So who's to know? But AJ has said in the past that he will not wrestle for another promotion. But with this partnership between the WWE and TNA, and AJ being a born and bred TNA original, could we possibly see WWE do a one-year deal for him Give him that sweet, sweet WWE cash. And this will allow him to be able to show up in TNA because there's also been rumors of retirement swirling with him.
Yeah.
So could we possibly see him end his run with some TNA matches? I would love to see that. I would absolutely love to see one of the godfathers, one of the founders of TNA pop back up to end his run. And then what I want from this more than anything is when WWE has a pay-per-view or PLE, whatever they're calling it.
Yeah.
I want them to request the biggest names to come over and the smallest name. I want both sides of the coin. I want a big name and I want one of your undercard guys for everyone. And the same goes for TNA. I want to see the WWE allow one of their biggest names and one of their undercards to show up at every pay-per-view. Let's elevate both ends of the spectrum there on both platforms.
Yep.
And honestly, for WWE, I would go so far as to say bring in a couple of your undercards, but definitely make sure that you have one of the biggest names from TNA and then a couple of the undercards even. Right. Because you're WWE, you are a more elevated platform. You can do that.
Yeah.
But that's what I've got. I'm excited to see how this plays out. I know that multi-year, probably about 3-4 years maybe. This isn't the WWE of old. Hunter's always been big on territories and shit like that. So could this possibly be the start of that, kind of?
Well, we kind of wrap back to the beginning then. And if we're talking about, could it be sort of a territorial system out of the new WWE? Because if WWE doesn't own it, then I don't get it. Like, there is very little other than like the fans, you know, we used to say the fans and the smart fans. I mean, let's face it, pretty much every fan is smart to some degree or another these days.
Yeah.
And unless we have always wanted that synergy and that forbidden door to be open between different companies, and someone's just decided we're gonna do that now. I don't get it. The WWE, and I realize not Vincent K. McMahon owned enterprise anymore, has never done anything. Well, not never, but for 99.9% of the time, no other wrestling ever matters or exists or shall draw our attention until we own it. Like WCW, they didn't talk about it, they didn't recognize it. Every once in a while, someone might, Ric Flair used to own this big gold belt. They didn't tell you where it was from, right? There wasn't a company name. And obviously the landscape has changed. But I don't see the point of Coke doing a deal with, Pepsi's not fair, but let's say RC Cola and doing something with them unless they're going to buy RC Cola. So if it's a territory system where, we're going to make a junior system like NXT was always supposed to be anyway, then maybe that makes sense, but I don't see it otherwise. How about you, Dave?
Well, I'm looking at it as more of, instead of jumping directly from NXT up to either SmackDown or Raw, maybe TNA would be AAA. It would be AAA baseball. It's right before you get to the majors. Give them a little more conditioning. NXT isn't bad, but it is quite a jump from NXT when they're in, I guess they used to be at Full Sail. I'm not sure if they're still traveling or where they are now, but their setup at the Performance Center was maybe 500 to 600 people in a crowd, however it was set up.
Right.
NXT jumping to TNA, where they have their tapings and their pay-per-views, they're now over 1,000, jumping up to maybe 2,000. So it's a little more of a jump. It's not from 500 to 5,000 plus or 10,000 plus. It's giving them a little more experience in front of a live crowd that isn't the same people over and over again. The only thing I look at is TNA still does taping. They tape every 2 to 4 weeks. They're only live at their pay-per-views or signature live events or premium live events, whatever they're calling them. I watch it when I can, but it's not a number one priority. But if I saw that maybe AJ Styles is heading back to TNA, I may have an inkling to possibly watch. Go find TNA Plus, go on YouTube. However, I need to watch them. If it's worth it and I can afford it, I'll go do that.
Yeah.
That if he's not on WWE programming and I can see him elsewhere, I'll find a way to watch him.
Yeah. I guess I'll go to the chat, but then I'll just add something to that. But Lou had said an NWA schedule might be perfect for AJ, but I won't hold my breath. Steve says he should finish his career AJ Styles in TNA. To which our friend James H. Jackson Jr. Hope you're feeling 100% now, James. On January 10th, a fan on Twitter asked AJ Styles to comment on his recovery and when he might return, and he simply responded by writing, "I'll be honest, the injury is challenging. He had suffered a mid-foot ligament sprain, so he's still out with an injury."
Oh, wow.
And in addition to AJ finishing his career, Samoa Joe should, Steve. And I think both of those are good choices to go there. Lou points out AJ was Wildside before NWA TNA. That is quite true. I think he's responding to me here. This was true 83 to 23. Once you're as wealthy as WWE, you look petty if you don't let the poors have the leftovers here and there. I think there's some merit to the argument, but we're wrestling fans, and WWE is a wrestling company with shareholders owned by a massive, conglomerate. It's about business, and I can't, I guess, honestly sit here and tell you that I know definitively what a business mind would say, but in my experience as one of the desk jockey mid-management drones in the business world, it has been, there's not going to be any dealings with the other company that we're in however much bigger and farther ahead down the road we are than them. We're not going to give them any of the spotlight. If anything, we'll, within the confines, I would hope, of business practices, crush them out. So I think there's got to be some kind of money sharing plan, if not ownership thoughts down the road. But I mean, listen, I've been wrong before. Good point by Steve G. It's easier way for WWE to get the talent they want. This way they don't have to pay all the contracts should they buy them out. What'd you miss? You missed a landslide victory for Nick Aldis going into the Hall of Fame. So, make room, buddy.
Oh, and before we move on to Dave, Steve G earlier had asked if there was any news on the UWN, and I did see on Facebook where Mr. Marquez and Papo Esco posted, and they were brainstorming for their upcoming event, and Dave also asked who on Facebook who would we like to see show up at the event at the Irvine Improv. So that is still happening.
Yeah, February 23rd, something like that. This is a really good point. If it hurts AEW, then maybe it's not the worst move in the world as well.
This could very easily push TNA back to the number 2 wrestling company.
Well, they should be anyway. But they don't. When you have $1 billion and it doesn't matter if you make a profit or not. Not that I want to sound like Jim Cornette. Then you get to keep running.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean people keep coming.
Yeah.
That's the thing. And after a while, that money will go away from TV if no one's watching. But to Steve G's comments, they don't have to pay that contract. Should they buy them out like they did with WCW and ECW, like they did with WCW, like they did with ECW, they will, if at some point, own everybody. That's it is good to have some other competition to keep you motivated, but doing business with them, I don't know. Unless there's some money exchange down the road, then it's exciting. Anyway, it makes me want to tune into Netflix and watch one of the shows that I haven't seen in some time. And Raw is always exciting in the clips department, so we'll see how it turns out. I appreciate your thoughts, Jer. Let us go now. Here's some my first for this later. Ty Valkyrie, Allison K. I don't know where some of these names are right now, but can't we move on? I don't know. I mean, we can move on from Allison K, can't we? I mean, thank you for your service.
Willie has a type.
What's that?
Willie has a type.
I guess. But, I mean, no, I'm not. Just the same old names. Give me more. Give me Tiffany Nieves in a bigger company in a bigger role. That's interesting. But anyway, let me flip us now to our fantasy booker extraordinaire and Dave Scooby in a segment we call "I Respect You, Booker Man." It's not me who's there. It's not you. It's this guy who's there. Dave, you're getting us some more historical fantasy booking tonight with the question, what if William Patrick Cogan had bought TNA in 2016?
Well, let's start off with TNA, Impact Wrestling, NWA, TNA, whatever you want to call it. They've had its fair share of ups and downs. They've quite a few times been on the brink of either folding due to whatever reason. They've been able to find a source of income to keep afloat. And one of those occasions happened back in 2015 when EC3's Aunt Dixie Carter, she found an investor in Wrestling Fan and Smashing Pumpkins frontman WPC, Mr. Billy Corgan. In April of 2015, Billy Corgan was brought into TNA Wrestling as the head of creative. I'm not sure how he wiggled his way in, but they made him head of creative a little over a year later. It was announced by TNA CEO Dixie Carter. He was the new president of the company. Reports began circulating that Corgan was in line to purchase TNA from the Carter family. An announcement would be made before or after the company's biggest show, Bound for Glory, in October of that year. And running a wrestling promotion was nothing new to Corgan. And early 2010, 2011, he owned Chicago-based Resistance Pro Wrestling. He also was offered a ownership stake in ECW during its final days, if you believe all the hype and rumors. Well, Bound for Glory came and went, and no announcement or was made of a sale. So what did we get? Well, plenty of inner fighting behind the scenes of TNA between Billy and Dixie over who owed who what. As Billy, it was revealed during his time in TNA, he loaned Dixie 3 payments, which averaged out to close to $2 billion. And that kept TNA afloat for that time. Dixie had reportedly owed money to other investors as well, and the state of Tennessee for back taxes. Well, Dixie approached Corgan for another loan, and he obliged, but in the loan, he received a verbal agreement. Always get it in writing, Billy. You're in the music business. You should know that. Always get it in writing. That Dixie said that, well, I'll give you ownership of TNA down the line, but not right now. So you always get it in writing. Corgan said that Dixie treated him nothing more than a money mark. Basically just there to help finance the wrestling company. And the flip side of that was Dixie called Corgan a loan shark, which he tried to strong arm Dixie into taking over her company in her time of need. She claimed that Corgan was hardly around during business meetings. Well, of course, he had the Smashing Pumpkins to worry about. So he had more on his plate than just running a wrestling business. He did appear at the Nashville offices only a few times, that she said, but the two sides took their issue to court, and Corgan ended up trying to seek ownership of TNA. The result that the judge favored Dixie Carter in that their agreement was null and void. You got to get it in writing. It was null and void in the state of Tennessee. Therefore, Corgan could not gain control of the company. Now, the judge did award Corgan his money back plus interest. Dixie remained owner of TNA Impact. And later on, Anthem Sports and Entertainment ended up purchasing the company, and they ended up paying back Corgan. So it's one of these things that Dixie sort of skated free. She got her money and didn't have to pay back what was something that kept her business afloat. It was later revealed by Billy Corgan that he had big plans to turn around business for the promotion. Now, it includes rebranding of TNA name to something else, which he never said, and featuring a strong roster of wrestlers. One idea he had was to have the popular broken Matt Hardy character take a canoe into the middle of the lake of reincarnation, and throw the TNA title in, reach back in and pull out a brand new title. And that would have the new name on it of the wrestling. TNA would no longer exist. It was the birth of a new company. Now, I was never really into all the lake of reincarnation and the broken heart Matt Hardy stuff, so I don't know. And if you know how Billy is, how let's just say quirky he can be. He has his own way of doing things. I really don't know if it would work. It worked. It could have been something different. But back in the day of TNA and Impact, when you had all the different people there, Kurt Angle, back to Hulk Hogan, you had just all these different wrestlers, the Hardys, Team 3D. TNA has had a lot of names that were made in the WWF, WWE, and they were never able to make it over that hill. So who knows if Billy Corgan having TNA and running TNA, if they would have made it. It's just something having, I don't know. It's hard for me to believe in seeing what Billy has done with the NWA, how things would have turned out differently for TNA Impact if Billy would have owned them. And now TNA ended up with the relationship of WWE. Billy seems to be just, I mean, he's a loner. He doesn't want people working with him. He would rather people work for him. So I don't know if him working with others, if he would have taken over TNA Impact, what would have happened. But I mean, like, when Scott was there running things, TNA has upped their stock. But the thing is, with Anthem, TNA, until they get into quote unquote the mainstream, and now them entering an agreement with WWE, possibly being seen on CW, being seen on USA Network and Netflix, not everybody gets Access TV. And not everybody wants to pay for TNA Plus. So if it's a platform that you already have and TNA is able to go with WWE, it could be a win for both companies. But Corgan owning TNA, I just, in my eyes, I don't see him upping their value. That he would have, I think he would have gone the quirky route. He would have gone, let's try and shock and awe people rather than have a good wrestling company.
Right.
Like he's doing with the NWA. While I still like some of the wrestlers in the NWA, I can't say I like the NWA for what it is doing now. I'm glad there is an NWA, so some of these wrestlers have a place to wrestle.
Mm-hmm.
But in my eyes, if Billy would have taken over TNA, I don't think they'd be where they are now. And hopefully they're able to jump up into a higher category of wrestling organizations in the United States, in North America, and nationwide, and worldwide, hopefully, with Netflix being worldwide and people having a chance to view them with WWE as a partner. I think it's, in my opinion, it was a good deal that although Dixie really had no place in being in TNA, I can say the same thing about Billy owning TNA. If he would have owned it, I wouldn't have seen it being where it is today. I wouldn't have seen it being successful. It may not be as successful as the WWE, but it has made a lot of wrestlers' careers, and it's going to make even more people money and careers as they enter this joint venture with WWE.
Yeah, I 100% agree with your assessment. I don't think we'd be here today with that agreement between the two without Anthem buying. Anthem's enormous. Like it's so much bigger than what we even like. We think Anthem, we think TNA. It's a big company. Let's go to the chat. I'm glad Retro says. I'm glad Corgan didn't buy TNA's ideas were dumb then, and they're dumb now. I mean, look, Billy's calling you out. He's not wrong. Almost a year after I stopped watching, still need a booker there. I don't know. Got to figure that one out.
Now, speaking of how big Anthem is, here's some of the things that Anthem owns outside of TNA. They own Access TV, HDNet Movies, Invicta Fighting Championships, and Gravitas Ventures, which is a film production company out of Cleveland.
Huh.
So they've got their fingers in quite a few different slices of the pie.
Yeah, the Grand Championship. Yeah, this was a Billy belt here, I believe.
Jesus,
is it coming up? There it is. It's pretty, isn't it? Looks like big gold, but with like a sports drink logo on the front. Yeah, but I mean, like you give it more than 1 second a look, and it's like, yeah, not for me. But anyway, yeah, dumb booking. Sam, are you glad that he bought NWA instead? Yeah, I mean, we're glad because we all met through really indirectly because Jay covered the NWA a lot, primarily, really.
Yep.
Through that, so that's. I think we all wish at some point or another that Dave Marquez had owned the NWA, but that has not happened, nor will it ever. This is my understanding. Let's just go through the chat here. James says, not me. I'd rather he muck up TNA, not NWA. But to be fair, TNA was in shambles at that time as well.
Yeah.
Scoob, Sam says you're talking about the 2010 to 2012 era. This is a little after that, I think, actually, right? You're talking 2016.
20, yeah, late 15, 16 into a year after he ended up buying NWA in 20.
Steve G, another good comment. Billy and Tony Khan both have the same problem. They're both fantasy bookers, meaning just booking what they want to see, not what's going to bring in big rewards.
Billy's been honest about that, though.
It's my money, he said, right? I'll do what I want.
Money. I'm going to book what I want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And more power to you, buddy. Burn through it so that way you can pawn it off to somebody else or put it up on the shelf out of its misery for a little bit.
Jay could tell us if he's still on there, but there was a short period of time before, like when the NWA was up for sale. And if you knew about it, and I was not around at that time, but I wouldn't have known about it. You could buy that thing, and I think it was for like $100,000 that one for.
Yeah.
Which was basically the name and properties that, that it owned in terms of, I don't know, belts and set and lighting. I have no idea. But that's attainable to so many different people. And I don't know. I agree with Dave that TNA wouldn't be today where they are if they had Billy at the helm. And like always, I think we just hope that things begin to improve for the NWA and something happens down the road. Thanks, Dave. I thought that was pretty great.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Sam also says TNA would have died before. I think he means 2019 if Billy would have bought it. Yeah, he does, 2019. And I think Willie agrees. Joe Kazana is a great booker. Joe Kazana is NWA JCP, of course. We've had him.
Fantastic booker.
Yeah, he was such a great guy too. I got to interview him with Jay on the other show as well. Billy buys TNA. None of us are sitting here right now. Boom. That's true.
Yep.
Exactly.
It's true. Well, this was like your number one source for total nonstop action. I don't know.
We're at one time NWA TNA, so
yeah.
Who knows if Billy would have brought that back?
one thing I'm sure
that's true too.
Yeah, if many people would agree is I wish they had stopped changing the name back and forth and like TNA to what you call it, Impact and TNA and Impact and TNA and Total Nonstop Action, and it was just like, look, I understand how TNA had a certain appeal to a certain audience for the double entendre there. But Impact was a better name. And I know that it was a show, but I don't know. Just stop messing with the product and try to make it better.
Yeah.
You got to make more belts every time. And God, TNA's got a lot of belts. Anyway, Sam says TNA got so bad in 2017 they were filming out of Matt Hardy's garage. Really?
Yep. Yes. Yeah.
Wow.
That's whenever the broken Hardy thing was their one and only thing that was firing at that point. And that's just because of how fucking outlandishly out there it was.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. I was not watching.
I wasn't either, but I was quite aware of it because that broken Hardy storyline was the only thing they had going on at that time.
Yeah, that was fun. Stevie asks, who owns the NWA tapings? The libraries, there's more than one.
Yeah.
Mr. Corgan has access to one of them.
Houston.
That's right, Houston's library. Yeah. But there are others owned by, WWE and I'm sure other people as well. But yeah, there you go. I went on a visit to the Chase with some cool dudes from across this country and Canada. That's true. Yeah, God, TNA didn't put the World Heavyweight Championship on Tyrus. Well, oof. If Billy owned TNA today, you might have seen Tyrus as TNA World Champion. Jeremy Borash saved their ass back when he was a mastermind, making sure that storyline was on point. Yeah.
Yep.
And he's a producer now with WWE. Him and Abyss are now producers in WWE. So,
yeah.
But I mean, think how many people have bounced back and forth between TNA, Impact, and the NWA. I mean, Latimer, he was Bram. You had Aldis back and forth. Chris Adonis.
Yep.
Iris was back and forth. I mean, James Storm, Eli Drake.
It's a small world around, like when you even go back to Resistance Pro. Like, there's a lot of names that were connected to Billy back then that just came to the NWA or were over in TNA during that time. And, if you look at the rosters from that time,
Danny Deals used to work with TNA.
Yeah. Yeah. Jay Bradley was a Resistance Pro and,
Yep.
Lonesome Jay or something like that. Wasn't that his name? I don't remember, but.
Speaking of former TNA NWA guys, it still to this day surprises me that LA Knight Eli Drake, for the longest time, I'm not sure about now, but for the longest time was the body model for all of the WWE games while he was working in TNA.
Yep.
I did not know that.
And then left TNA and went to NWA, and then finally got picked up by the WWE, and is now LA Knight.
Wow. And late too, so late too, and he's still so good.
Still so good.
So good. How old's LA Knight now? 43? Something like that? I guess it doesn't matter, but yeah, he should have been NWA World Heavyweight Champion. I remember Mr. Marquez saying once in an interview, I'm gonna guess, it just comes to mind, that there was intention to make Eli Drake the world's champion, and that was the plan. And I think things happen in the world of pro wrestling, right?
Yep.
But he was supposed to be the holder of the 10 pounds gold. Listen, guys, what do you say we call it a day and get out of here?
Sounds good.
I appreciate you, everybody coming on. Few reminders on the socials. Actually, let's do that first. TOAG is on X and Blue Sky. You can't do polls on Blue Sky. I don't know why, unless there's some add-on that I don't know about. But we got we've been on Blue Sky like a week, and there's like way more followers than there has been on X. Right? So, man, I don't get it, but I'll take it. We're at TOAG live stream on both. Dave, how about you?
You can find me at Dave Scooby on Instagram, X, and I believe TikTok is back, and that's at Dave Scooby, the number 1.
Yeah, went away for a day, and it's back already.
Yeah. I'm like, ooh, we were bad. Take it away for a day.
Yeah. And I kind of heard that, the CEO of TikTok was going to President Trump's inauguration. I thought,
yeah.
I don't think they're going to go away for more than like a weekend. So there you go. How about you, Jeremy?
You can find me on Twitter at HJWOTS and on Blue Sky at Alliance Jeremy. And you can also find me on Facebook at, I'm not sure how you look up somebody on there, but it's Jeremy Miller on Facebook. So
nice. And Alliance Wrestling is at the Alliance blog on all the social media platforms. Don't worry about me. I'm not even really using Twitter beyond TOAG. So, but please go and follow us on Twitter and X.
Yes,
we would appreciate that. More importantly, Alliance-Wrestling, your number 1 source for news and information for the National Wrestling Alliance and various independents around the world. Really, pro wrestling as a whole these days. 8 p.m. EDT, 5 p.m. Pacific for the Alliance Guys podcast. That's JCal, that's DK. That's Jaden. Those are the OG originals. Been doing this thing for like a long time, like 18 years, something crazy like that. And then Jay every Tuesday at 5 EDT or 2 specific for the pre-party before Power. I'm going to get him to do a watch along. I don't know if he's still doing that after, but I'm going to jump on there, just see what I've missed for the last 10 or 11 months. That'll be fun. Thanks to everybody in the chat. Sean is 42. That's LA Knight. Thank you. Appreciate it. That's good news. Be good or be good at it. What was Piper used to say? Yeah, be good, or if it can't be good, be very, very bad. Poll is coming to Blue Sky, February 2025. That's great. Wonderful. Trump to Trump. Well, I have no political opinions being Canadian. So there you go. Thanks, everyone. Until next time, go Birds, and we'll see you at the matches.
Thanks for joining the stream. This has been a presentation of Alliance-Wrestling.com. We genuinely appreciate your support. Would you consider subscribing so you'll never miss a future episode? I'd also like to remind you we do a live stream every Tuesday at 5 p.m. before NWA Power. You can find us on social media at The Alliance Blog. And until next time, we are The Alliance.